So this is a video I'm starting.
Oh, those always go great.
They're so good.
Mine are fucking basement tier bad.
Somehow mine go lower. So, you know, I hear you've been to prison.
Yeah, I was in prison.
You like that start?
Nope. Yeah, I was in prison, man. Why do you say?
So there's a couple questions that have come up in my head.
Okay.
And I figured you could lay waste or confirm them.
Okay.
Once and for all.
Do the voodoo that you do is what I meant to say.
All right.
But then I said doo-doo, so I guess go take a shit. Anyway, we're back from him taking a shit.
Yep.
That cut was so good you didn't even notice it.
Nope, because it doesn't exist. I literally just shat my pants. So shitty pants aside. You gotta lay waste to this one, or again confirm it. Everybody out there is wondering, is this soap thing real?
Dropping the soap?
Yep.
It depends. It depends.
Is there like an etiquette to banging the dude in the butt?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right.
Look, the reality is, prison sex happens, and is it as often as movies would have you believe? Nah, not really. But at the same time, yes.
All right.
And I mean that this way. No, there's logic behind this. In the movies, it's like everybody's getting raped.
Yeah, like you're going there, you're gonna get raped.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you right now that more often than not, it's consensual. People just go like, "Hey, you want to fuck?" Well, not like that. But, yeah. It's a little bit more subtle than that. But it's more often than not, the sex, if it's happening, it's consensual. That being said, there is rape in prison, and there are people that are very sexually aggressive. And if you encounter one of those, you got to tread real careful. But it's not as prevalent as you would be led to believe. Now, if you land in a very hard prison with a lot of people that are doing long bids of time,
don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, you're gonna encounter more problems, and there's a lot more general etiquette that you have to follow to avoid circumstances like that. But if you're not a fool, you can follow the rules. And that's kind of the catch.
It even rhymes. If you're not a fool, follow the rule.
That's first thing you got to remember in prison. If you're not a fool, follow the rules. And that's really true. And it's kind of ironic because you're in prison for not following the rules. And the prisoners have their own set of rules. And you better know what's up. You better not assume anything. You get to a place, you ask, and you make sure before you do anything. And if you do that, you're going to be fine, Short of you pissing somebody off or coming into some crosshairs, you're going to be relatively okay. Again, unless you land in a very bad spot. But back to the soap thing, that all links to this. Did I ever personally see that? No. Did I drop the soap in prison? As in literally drop the soap?
Drop the soap?
Yeah, I dropped the soap. Did I pick it up? Nope. You know why? Not because I was afraid somebody was going to slide the old hot dog up the poop chute.
Because that's just gross.
Yeah, because the floors are literally made of semen.
Yeah.
There's so much fucking cock juice on those floors that you don't want to touch the soap. Now, I have picked up the soap. I said I didn't, but I have when I was alone in the shower. And again, it had nothing to do with...
there's going to be a dong
in my butthole. It had more to do with the fact that it was not a state soap, because the state gives you soaps that are like this tiny.
Yeah, so you just kind of lose them.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck that shit. I could just get another one somewhere. Although, in some places, it's hard to get another one, so maybe you second think that. But it was my actual personal soap, and those are pretty big. And you're kind of like, fuck, man.
Soap like this big?
Yeah, because you can buy personal soap, and you can make bigger soaps out of it.
Yeah.
So
this is not far off.
Yeah, man, if you drop a big block of soap, that's a lot of fucking soap you don't want to lose. So basically what I would do is I'd pick it up real quick, and then I just suds it up and wash it off. Yeah, it's soap, And I was fine with that. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this.
But there was so much seed that sometimes you dropped the soap, you brought it up, and it was bigger than when you had it before.
Oh, dude, I stayed in a dorm where that would have been a fucking possibility. There was so much fucking seed in that. But you wear these slides to go into the shower, these shower slides. And yeah, that's really what they're for. But dude, I was just afraid that the level of semen was going to seep into my shower slides. It was that much. It was crazy. But there was one time when I was showering, and these are like, depending on the unit you're at, you could give 100, 200 man showers, or you could have a shower with 6 people. It just depends where you're at. And the last unit I was at, it was a 6-person shower, 6 heads, 1 little room. And I was on one side showering, and there was this dude on this other side, and he kept on washing his legs.
What?
Now, I don't know about you, but when I shower, yeah, of course I soap my legs up, but it's kind of like there I soap them
like
up.
That's like a second, like that's the thing you do last.
Yeah, you just, wash them and then
you don't spend like
some water.
50 hours freaking going with a
this
toothbrush
dude
and shit.
bent over at the waist and would like pump his legs up and down.
That's pretty weird.
And I'm like, what the fuck? And it went on for a long time.
Maybe he was hoping for a little hot dog.
I don't know. Action. But long story short, I'm sure the phrase got its roots somewhere, and somebody dropped the soap and got something else slipped up in there. But did I see that? No. Did I ever feel that threat? No. But yeah. What's the other question?
So well, no, we all don't know. So I'm just gonna make that a question of its own.
Mm-hmm.
I know the answer, but is there a crime when you go in there amongst the populace that people even in there hate you for? I know the answer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the answer is pretty obvious. If you have a sex offense, especially if it's against a woman or a child, most specifically a child, you're persona non grata. You're out of there. You have a lot of work to do to keep your nose clean. You know what I'm saying? Does that mean you're going to get killed the moment you get into prison? No. It probably means you're going to get beat up a few times. But if you play your cards right, you can survive. You know what I'm saying? Now, I stayed in a Christian dorm. And by Christian dorm, I mean it's a place. They called it a Christian dorm, but any faith could go in there. It was just a dorm to practice your faith. And people that practice their faith in prison are kind of seen as untouchable. So it's kind of used or misused by certain people. Some people go to the faith dorm
like legitimately.
Like I was there legitimately. Like I was not a faithful person before prison. In fact, I was very anti-faith. I'm still anti-religion. I just was also anti-God, anti-anything. But, you come to a circumstance in your life where things change and you kind of refocus and go, damn, man, my life was not good. And I was not a good person. So you begin to reevaluate yourself. So that's why and it took me, I could have been in one of those from the get-go. It took me 3 years to get into one, so it's not like, oh man, I'm going to squeeze on by.
You don't just put your semen flops and go in there.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I'm the greatest person on earth and my faith falters very often, but I was there for a legit reason is what I'm saying. That being said, in there, I encountered a lot of people that were not there for legit reasons because they were just trying to squeeze on by. And a lot of those people tended to be sex offenders because they knew that in a faith dorm, they could have it easier. There's nobody going to push you around in a faith dorm. There's nobody that's going to be causing trouble because they're either there to do better themselves or to get by. So everybody's kind of on the same page or just trying to keep their nose clean, So as a result of that, I met these people, but having conversed with these people, I got to know a lot of their stories. And if you're a sex offender, you have a fucking hard time. But I noticed this. The ones that were respectful of their environment, that kept a low profile, that didn't seem weak, or that didn't give off the impression of weakness, even they didn't have that hard a time. Now, I will tell you this, in Texas, where I was incarcerated, the rules have changed. They now have I forgot what they call it, man. I'm trying to remember what they call it. The Prison Safety Act is what I believe it is called. This set of rules allows there to be consequences for someone in prison victimizing another prisoner. So people are a lot more careful around sex offenders. But even then, they'll do stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question in short, if you're a sex offender or if you've hurt a child, You know, like let's say your crime is endangerment, child endangerment, nothing to do with sex or anything like that, but you've endangered.
Still bad.
Yeah, they'll look
like that dude that was like folding babies and shit. Like,
yeah,
he's not gonna have a good
or
time.
even if like let's say you were driving and you didn't buckle up your kid and he died, and you're in there for manslaughter and child endangerment or something like that. You got a lot of explaining to do before you're kind of accepted. You know what I'm saying? And I learned one thing in prison, and it's that for me to survive, you know, as a person, to not get involved, not get in people's hair, I couldn't judge anyone. Who am I to judge to begin with? And second of all, why involve myself in that drama of judging other people? And so it always kind of disgusted me that prisoners like myself look down their noses at someone else. And really it came off as disingenuous because it was really an excuse to make themselves feel better than them, you know,
like, oh, I'm in here, but I'm not in here for this.
Yeah, at least I'm not that piece of shit. You know, you always got to put someone under your shoe to make yourself look better. And I told this to a friend of mine who was in there for drug dealing, because he hated SOs. And like I said, in that dorm, we were surrounded by them. And this friend of mine, really cool guy, man, but he hated them. And first of all, he was in there just to get by. He didn't want to fucking deal with anything, so he wasn't even there for the right reasons. But he hated SOs, and his neighbor happened to be an SO. And he hated him. And I'm like, look, I understand your hatred. You have kids. I realize that sucks. But you sold drugs to kids. To people that had kids. Their lives were severely altered. And it always, like, it fucked with his head because he knew it was true. But, you know, I understand the mentality. But, you know, that's the reality of prison, you know. I'm trying to think of something else that might, besides the obvious sex offender thing that might get you, or, you know, child endangerment or something like that. Beating your wife, I mean, that's one. You know, stuff like that. Any questions?
On the opposite realm, is there any crimes that like got you set? Like you go in there and be like, oh, don't touch that dude. He killed like Kuntz's dog. Or something.
If you're a complete fucking maniac, people are going to be extremely wary of you. I'll give you an example of that right now. The other alternative is if you're like this big baller and people know it, and or you give off that impression very fucking well. You know, it's not so much the crime, it's how you present yourself. If you go in there and it seems like you could fucking take down an army by yourself, you know, people are going to be extremely wary of you. Now that will only go so far because there's gangs in there. But if if that presence affiliates itself to a gang, there's nobody gonna touch that person. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's about who you know. It's about how you come off, and all that stuff. I happen to have a physical presence that gives the idea that, you know, I'm not somebody, just by looking at me, that you'd be like, I want to pick on that guy. I don't look weak. I don't look like a pushover.
I mean, you got like a spherical shape, but it's not like...
Yeah, but it's, you know...
It's not like a pushover spherical shape.
Yeah, definitely not. And the way I talk to people in prison, it was always respectful. Respect is a big thing in prison, believe it or not. It was always respectful, but never in the way where I cowed over to what they wanted.
Yeah, you're not like,
you know. So that helped me. But yeah, other people, like you said, they have that air of untouchableness. It's because, one, people know who they are. Two, they have a huge case. Like, that guy killed his fucking family.
Like if the Punisher was in there.
Yeah, if the Punisher was in there, people are going to know. Nothing is hidden in prison, you know. Or you know, three, if they're affiliated and tied into a gang in there, it's just going to be like, oh, that guy, don't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, those would be three examples of that. Any other questions?
We'll make it this the last one.
What
was, well, let's do two.
Okay.
Food. Did it stink?
Mostly. I'll say this. The last unit I was at, the food was fairly good. And it's because we were near the border, so they would always catch all these drug hauls coming over the border. And you would usually hide the hauls in 18-wheelers filled with vegetables, fruits, meats, and those were fresh. So we were one of the few units that got I mean, mind you, all the units have farms and stuff like that grow their own stuff. But we got like some fresh fucking shit. You know, there was no waiting for the fucking
shit to ripen shit.
Yeah, nothing like that. It was just like you're getting fresh shit. It's a variety of shit. It's not like beans all the time and this all the time. No, you're getting a variety of shit all the time. So the unit I was last at, which I spent the majority of my time in, the food was actually not that bad. I will say this. Prison pancakes, I fucking hate them. I was like traumatized by prison pancakes to the point where I didn't eat a pancake until like recently, like a month or two ago. I finally said, you know what? I'm going to try a pancake. Before that, I was like, fuck a pancake up its ass. I fucking...
About flapjacks?
Dude, I hated flapjacks, waffles. I don't give a fuck. I hated them. The very idea of them. And it's just those pancakes tasted so terrible. It was like eating cardboard, man. That being said, there's a lot of pork, which I hate. So I lost a lot of weight in prison, which I gained a portion of that back, unfortunately. But it was good eating in terms of healthy. So yeah, now I've been to some units where the food was atrocious. The worst food though was in county jail when I was waiting to go to prison. Just the worst, salty, processed garbage. Like you'd be better off going to 7-Eleven and eating a fucking shit ass burrito.
Damn, I'll go for a shit ass burrito right now.
Not if it was in prison or I guess jail.
It's a good point.
Yeah. Now when I was on my way to being released to prison, they shoot you from unit to unit until you get somewhere close.
Literally.
Yeah. I wish that would have been faster because fuck, that's a story all of its own. But they shoot you from unit to unit, and you eventually travel the way closest to where your hometown is, right, or wherever you're gonna release to. So I got to partake of the foodstuffs of many a prison along the way, and some were better than others. But is it like this terrible fucking thing? Nah, it's like kind of like cafeteria food.
Yeah.
But if anything, you know what? It was better than cafeteria food. There were some meals that were complete fucking garbage, but there were some that were like, shit, dude, I'll take this shit.
You do get that Kool-Aid that's like says will kill you.
Oh yeah, there's actual signs in going into prison, at least in Texas, that warn you about the fucking Kool-Aid. You know, that it may cause cancer and all this shit. Now there's always been talk of saltpeter in prisoner drinks. Maybe. Fuck. I mean, they were just blunt about that shit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, it wasn't that bad. I'll just say that. It wasn't that bad.
What about final one? This is more like a name type of thing. Name a thing.
Okay.
About the place that shocked you, whether it be the people and their weird morals or just the shitty condition or whatever. Something that you didn't expect going in.
I think early on I decided expect anything. And sometimes that made for some nervous times. You know, because I expected the worst really. But then ultimately it would pay off because the worst never came to fruition. Now that being said,
you know, it could even be like a good thing. Like
yeah.
Something you didn't expect.
That being said, there was stuff in there that did shock me to a degree. On the negative end of the spectrum, the variety of people, that I got to meet, some of them were complete human filth, like irredeemable people. I like to think that I went to prison and I fucking learned my lesson. If I ever end up in prison again, it's by some fucked up circumstance that, you know, either one, I'm falsely accused, or two, something from the past comes to haunt me again. You know, fuck that shit. I'm not going back. It's done. But there are some people in there that don't give a fuck. They don't care. They are about that life. And they don't give a fuck. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything but themselves. And that's the worst type of person that you want to meet in there. That's the person you last want to talk to. But that's for some reason the person a lot of people when they go to prison, oh yeah, that's a cool guy right there. They still got that party mentality. Like you're gonna get fucked up because of this idiot.
Yeah.
But worse than that are the depraved individuals. I met a dude in there. They call him 6'4", and because he was 6'4", and
not very creative.
Yeah, not very creative nicknames in there, and he was legitimately a detestable person. Now he was a white guy, so in prison there's racial divide. You know, Mexican people generally stay with Mexican people, or sometimes it's Latinos stick with Latinos. But if there's enough of different Latinos, they'll go on their own. You know, like the Salvadorians over there, the Hondurans over there, the Mexicans over there. But you know, white guys generally protect white guys, and you don't have to be in a race gang to be that. Like if you're a white guy, you're considered a wood by default, and they'll protect you because they look out for their race. Likewise, if you're a Mexican guy, Mexican guys will generally, if a race war breaks out, be on your side. Same with black guys, etc. But this guy was a white guy, and the white guys were okay with him, but there was always an air about them. Now, at that point, I was considering tattooing in prison. Never did, and I'm glad I didn't. I never had to, thankfully. But I was considering tattooing, so I was in good with the white guys and the Mexicans and everybody. Everybody was like in my good. I was in their good favor, you know. Now, what I did do was I drew up a lot of patterns for them for tattoos. So there's a lot of people out there with my patterns on their bodies, which is weird to think about. But so I was doing this. This is gonna sound fucked up, but I was doing designs for the White Knights, which are kind of like if I remember correctly, they're Ku Klux Klan influenced.
All right.
People, just to clarify, I'm Mexican, okay?
Yeah, it's just a thing you do.
It's just a thing, you know. And I remember this guy that was the first guy that I did a design for. He had to get permission from the head of the White Knights. You know, there's a Mexican guy doing my artwork. Is that okay? So the guy came and he interviewed me, so to speak, and he was like, "Yeah, it's fine." Which, you know, it's weird. It's kind of like, it reminded me of American History X, where Edward Norton's like, "What the fuck? Why is everybody just getting along with each other?" To their benefit, really, you know. But so I was doing that for them, and he asked me about 6'4", because 6'4" would constantly talk to me, and I'm like, I don't know, man, he just talks to me and shit. And he's like, they go, I think he's a chomo, and I'm like, a chomo, by the way, means child molester, and it's usually used as a blanket statement, you know, not necessarily that you molested someone, but it could have been anything involved with a sex offense, and they'll call you a chomo.
Jared status.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's legit chomo. But
I just wanted to bring Jared back in.
So this guy asked me, I think he's a chomo, and I need you to find out. And I said, hey, look, man, I'm not about that business. I don't want to get involved. You know, just keep me out of it. And thankfully, he was cool, and he said, all right, I get you, man. Respect. Cool. So thankfully, I didn't have to do that. But turns out that fucking information was just volunteered to me by fucking 6'4".
All right.
Because one day, me and 6'4" are walking around the rec yard, and he's just chatting to me. And he would always talk to me about, because he was like a real tech savvy guy, so he would always be talking to me about that stuff. And, you know, whatever, it's conversation. And one day he tells me, when you get out, could you get access to my stuff and send me, because you could sneak stuff in through the mail in prison, like pictures of, like, you can't get nude shots in prison. Like if you wanted me to send me a nudie book, you couldn't do that. But some people sneak them in by pasting greeting cards together in clever ways, and they'll sneak in pictures, you know. So that's basically what he was leading up to, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But then he reveals what he's talking about, and basically he told me. And I'm not even basically, legit straight out told me that he had exploited children in a horrible way, and he had photographic evidence, and he wanted me to provide this stuff for him to get off on in prison. And I was like, what the fuck? Now, I never ratted on this guy because I wasn't a fucking rat, but I was like, what the fuck? And he did not, look, I'm going to be straight up. When somebody tells me like that, I don't stop them sometimes. I just let them go on. I'm a good listener. That's the way I'll say it. I just let them go on. And this guy either, one, really wanted to talk about this for a long time, or felt comfortable enough to talk about it, whatever. The point is, this dude was a fucking total creep. And I was like, holy shit. What the and I'm glad that, give or take a week and a half or so after that, I was moved from that unit. Because I did not want to be around him. Because that was eventually going to blow up. Mm-hmm. You know? They were going to find out. And I guarantee you, he got 40 years in prison, something like that. I guarantee you along the way, he's going to get found out. Yeah. It's going to happen. And it was just like, fuck, man. That was, just imagine, like, what the fuck do you do with that? You know, now it's on my back. You know, it's a burden that I have to know that this guy did that shit. And I can't blabber because he'll get killed and I don't want to be responsible for that. Or just the idea that he doesn't care and he wants to, even in prison, he wants to continue. Then there was those people that I didn't necessarily know, but were alarming to be around. There was this dude that got caught jacking off on his bunk, and he had smeared shit in his nostrils. And then later, he was warned. I'm surprised he didn't beat up and kicked up, probably because they didn't want to touch his shit. But he was warned to never do that again, which alone is like, man, you got to break. But then he did it again, and then the third time he had used feces to lube his wang as he stroked it.
Why?
I have no idea. Then they kicked him out, right? And then word came down the grapevine, and by that I mean the guards revealed it.
By that you hear the California raisins come down.
The guards revealed that this guy was like a disturbed sexual offender, had molested his nephew and all kinds of fucked up shit. So really, I think the guy, either one, was severely deranged, or two, was trying to find a way to get locked up and say. And that would be a quick way to do it. Either way, fucked up.
Yep.
Either way, it's fucked up. But yeah. On the other end of the spectrum, on the good side, I was surprised to find that there were genuinely good people in prison. You know, like people that I've come to love as people. And yeah, they're faulty. Yeah, they're in prison. But who isn't? Who isn't? If all of our sins were put out to the light, I guarantee you a lot of us would end up in prison. But I got to meet some genuinely good people, you know, and I interacted with people that surprised me, you know. Like I said, race lines in prison are pretty deep, but I couldn't have survived one unit without this black guy, a black Muslim guy no less, who looked out for me, who was kind and generous, funny, cool, not in any kind of funny way. Just, you know, he was a legit cool dude, you know. And it's not that I'm not saying that in terms of black people. I'm saying it's just surprising considering the environment, you know.
Yeah,
of course, I knew black people before, you know.
That there's like people who don't suck donkeys.
He didn't give a fuck, dude. This was an old school dude, you know, that did some hard time and some hard prisons. And by default of he wasn't, you know, directly linked to any gang because he had, you know, done his time, and, you know, he was just in his late 50s or mid 50s. He was just out of the scene, but he had that old school respect, you know what I'm saying? But he was a cool motherfucking cat that would go and sit in the white people's table, and nobody would blink an eye. And if anybody from any black set would say something to him, he wouldn't flinch. He wouldn't give a damn about it, and he called them out on their bullshit. Anybody, doesn't matter. But it was just surprising to see that guy stand up for me in the strangest of situations, you know. And he was a really cool cat. Gave me tons of stuff. Now in prison, when people give you stuff, it's usually because they want something back. This guy, he gave me and he never asked for anything back, you know. And it was just people like that you come across that defy the expectations or the rules of the environment. I met plenty of those. And you know, it's just fascinating when you really get that deep into what humans are about. You're surprised where good lies and where bad lies, you know. So yeah, that was pretty cool. That it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was a pretty fun yet traumatizing walk down memory lane.
Now I do know that there's another one that I do want to.
We'll do another video.
We'll do another video.
Yeah.
It involves pointy feet.
Okay, I don't know. Oh, okay. I already know where this is going.
We'll get into that another time.
All right. But anyway, this has been Ahab and the Goon Tick with some prison Q&A. Hit us up. Tell us what you think. Like, share, subscribe, and hit those notifications. But for now, we're out.